Hello everyone, so how are you? So today I'm starting one series of videos where we would talk about the concepts behind the authentication and authorization, the frameworks that are being used behind these protocols, and what are the actual implementation with certain tokens and all. We will talk in subsequent videos. So let's talk about the authentication and authorization first. So guys, let's take a real life example. All of us go to airport, right? And when we reach at the gate of airport, what happens? Some security personnel would be there, and they would be asking us to our passport or maybe some ID, right? They ask us. Then only we are allowed to enter inside it. So this is the very first step where authentication is basically checks whether you are the person who is pretending to be. Okay, so this checks about, so that is why some ID authentication is required. So you have to show your ID password, right? Passport, sorry. So then only you would be allowed to enter the airport. Let's say this is our airport, right? So once you are authenticated here, this is called authentication, the one which is happening over the gate. Now once you are done with this, then you, let's say there are multiple flights in an airport, right? There is F1, F2, F3, lot of flights are there, but you have to go only to one of them, right? So now authorization comes to the picture at this second phase. So once you are done with this part, you will go to boarding service, right? And you have to got your boarding pass, right? So let's say your boarding pass you have got is B1. Okay, now this B1 would be assigned, you are authorized to only the one of these flight, not all of them, right? So whenever you are going to attend these flights, you have to show, some person would be checking your boarding pass, right? So you have to show it. They will test it whether this is a correct boarding pass or not. So let's say if this B1 is going to F1, then it is correct. But if let's say somebody is going to F2 flight or F3 flight, the person would be checked, this boarding pass doesn't belong, so this person is not authorized, right? So in this second phase, basically authorization is happening. In first phase it was authentication. Okay, so this is always a sequence that first authentication happens, then authorization happens. This is a one real life example. Now we will talk more towards the in technical terms, that how we use in certain web application, how does this authentication and authorization actually works. So guys, let's say this is a user, okay, and whenever we go to any website, let's say xyz.com, okay, when you will go to any website, what happens? We first provide our username and password to log in, right? So what happens when we are providing our username and password, it will go to authentication service, okay, and it will check whether this person is a legit person or not. It will check in database and all with for this user and password. Let's say the person is a legit person, then what happens? There would be n number of resources, right? So the person might not be an authorized person for all the resources, so only certain resources, let's say there are R1, R2, R3, three resources. So some users are having access to all of them, some users have selected access. So what happens? How to decide that who will get what access? Okay, so in that case what happens? All those users, let's say once authentication is done, then some token service would be there which will provide a token to this person T1. Okay, so this T1 token will go to this user. Now when this user makes further request, this T1 would be come together, right? Because authentication is now done. So based upon this token, we will go for this further request. Let's say this user makes another request. Now authentication is done. So now let's say he has the authorization to access this R1. So what happens whenever any user trying to access this R1, they have to provide token. So this user is providing T1, okay, T1 token which he or she got at the time of the authentication. Now this token would be again checked whether this guy and this resource is a legit token to access this resource. So it will check here. If it is yes, then this person can access this. If this is not the case, then a person would not be able to access. So this is the whole flow of, so this layer, at this layer it was authentication, Okay, and once authentication is successfully done, then we are providing the token, and then we are checking here the authorization. So remember, authentication happens first usually, and then authorization comes to the picture. And there are various ways to implement these things, and there are certain frameworks as well. Like, let me write down the names of them. So like Auth2, OpenID Connect, LDAP, these are certain framework that can be used to achieve this authentication and authorization. So we can read about these frameworks more, that how they are actually internally works. So my intention in this video was to give some real life idea about the authentication and authorization. In further videos we will explain more about these components and how to we implement all these things. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any concern, please make a comment over there. Thank you.